How we shifted from burnout to vitality. Hi there, listener. Warimo Gitao here. On this part 2 of episode 8, Safari podcast producer Orie indulges Marion and Erinn from Regenerative Changemaking. Some of the issues they touch on is why meditation, vacations, and bubble baths are not enough to break cycles of burnout, and how we can be meaningful change makers in any situation. And of course, how the system is designed to keep us stuck. Well, unless we learn how to fight the right way, the regenerative way.
So we have a couple different ways of working. We have a Burnout Recovery course, which is sort of a self-paced course that anyone can sign up for, and it's just kind of all online, and it's aimed at people who are really, really struggling with how to address you're deep in burnout and you just need to get some stability. And then we have our True Changemaker coaching program. And the True Changemaker coaching program is our 4-month coaching program where we walk clients through really a deeply transformative process using very kind of holistic and integrated methods. So we take clients through, we start with sort of body and mind, and we look at the nervous system and how the stress response acts in their nervous system. And then we look at the relationships and the relational world that they have at work and in their private life that support or extract from kind of healthy ways of working. And then we step out and we look at shadows and sort of intergenerational patterns and trauma and how that plays out in your work, which I think is so important for the global South, because just existing in a capitalized world, there will be trauma there, 100%. And so how does that impact what's going on in your working life? And then we go one step further out from that, and we look at systems and structures with ecological thinking. So we take our clients through this 4-month journey, through this whole big, long process, to at the end of it, they really feel like they have shifted a whole fundamental paradigm shift about how they live and work. And that's the core of what we do. But we also give workshops, and we did a workshop at the Gross Global Happiness Summit. And we've done some one-on-one work with organizations. And I'm actively doing research at the University of Edinburgh on doing my doctorate in this space. So I'm looking at climate change and personal power and burnout, and kind of weaving these sort of big topics together in my own research. So we have lots of different collaborations, and we're also open to what's going to come next. We want to stay curious. We want to stay organic. We don't have like a 10-year plan or a 5-year goal. We want to see what grows and what pops up, what sprouts.
It's a great manifestation vibe you've talked about there, Erinn. And in relation to that, how can individuals get involved with the organization or support its mission?
First thing is like telling people who are listening to this, if this resonates, if this feels like you need help with this, just to shoot us, find us on social media, Regenerative Changemaking, either on Facebook or Instagram, shoot us a message, and we can have a discussion to see how we can support you, or if the coaching program would be a good fit. That's the first way that we invite people to work with us and join us, because also what we've seen is, a lot of people want to first take this, like the first impulse is, how can I bring this to my community or to the people I work with and the people I serve? Without, it's like, wait a second, you deserve this too, and let's do the shift, work through it yourself first, and then go for it, share it, adapt it to your context, adapt it to your community. So that's one of the way. And then, we're open to collaborations. We're open to having discussions and seeing how we can support each other. And if anyone feels like, well, I'm doing this thing, that it would be great to maybe there is a place or a space for us to co-create something, we'd be very, very happy to also discuss and be on it. Just get in touch.
I interact with different youths and they believe that self-care is the answer to burnout.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on that in relation to regenerative change making?
We believe it's part of the answer to solving, but it's not all of it. And it's actually not enough in itself, because you can do all the self-care, but because we're working within systems, organization, cultures, working cultures that set us up for burnout, that ask for more and more without giving us the support or the resources that we need to really do it in a way that where we flourish, we're kind of set up for burnout. And so we need to look at also the big picture and our role and how we move within those systems.
Yeah, I was just going to say that believing that self-care is the answer to burnout is in part an internalized, capitalized way of thinking. Because capitalism puts all of the responsibility on the individual to perform. And if you can't perform, then it's your fault. And so if it's your fault, you have to do something about it. You need to have better self-care. And it's important to look after oneself, but it's also vitally important to have community care, and that there needs to be reciprocity in care. So we also look at systems and structures that are and are not providing care. And part of what we do is we help people find the most growthful path through wherever they are. So if you're struggling with self-care and you're thinking, I do all the things, I do my meditation, I do my yoga, I eat well, I have a spiritual practice, I look after myself and others, and I'm still burned out, our answer to that is, of course you are, because the world is designed to burn you out, and it's not all your fault. So we really look at how we can untangle that and disrupt that and actually create real regenerative ways of restoring your well-being and your vitality that involves systems and organizations and not just the individual, and community and relationships.
Very interesting. So how can one leverage organizations or business dynamics to create meaningful change without feeling drained through your movement?
Oh, such a good question. So I would say we can't answer that broadly speaking, because it's individual to each person and where they are in the system. But the way that we help people do that, we map out what the individual deeply needs in their lives. And this is why we start with the mind and the body and their relationships. And we spend a lot of time really working with the individual's needs. Because in a capitalized world, we've been taught to ignore what we need and ignore kind of our own deepest parts of ourselves. So we get back in touch with that and then help with any kind of maybe negative patterns or self-destructive patterns. And then we look at where they sit in their organization. And we do a thing called ecosystemic mapping. And we look for the disruptive, growthful pathways. There's always something that can be shifted and moved. And for most people, it involves staying where they're at and shifting some things. But for some people, it might mean changing jobs. It might mean, working through new policies. It might mean banding together with other workers to create change. There's different aspects, and it's always about each person's context. So hopefully that answers your question. It's hard to, because it's very, very particular.
And maybe it might help also like thinking, I know we use impact and even us, we use impact because that's kind of the word that's been used to describe. But even when you think about impact, you think of something over something else. So you're imposing something, like it feels very forceful. And we're even trying to break down that, because how do you measure impact? It's going to be very different from people to people, but there is a mainstream, discourse of impact is like how many people you've saved, how many people you've given clothes to, how many people, it's very quantifying. And And in the end, that doesn't really reflect all the aspects of a flourishing life. So we like to think about, maybe for you, an impact is, it's more like, what's your contribution? What feels like what you're doing within that organization, within your work, is contributing. I can't find another word really, to a better ecosystem. It feels meaningful. It fills you up. It makes you excited. And by being excited, you spread out, like it ripples out to the people around you. And the non-people, environment as well, and the non-animals and plants, and depending on where you're working and what you're working on. So even that, we need to, and that's also, part of the white supremacy discourse, the impact and how we quantify it, and what are the results and performance, and show it to me. Show me how much you're doing. So we're trying to break that down as well. And that's why we burn out, because we're constantly chasing after, like, is this enough? And it never feels enough, because we're billions of people on the earth, and so it always feels like we could do more. But what's our capacity, personal capacity, to handle those big questions? We need to be very, very mindful of our limitations and how much we can actually do at the individual level.
It's splendid. It's really splendid how diverse we are. Can you share with Safari podcast listeners a little bit about your culture? What rocks in terms of food, books, music, and sites you two individuals love to?
Maybe I'll go first, because I always say I'm only French when it comes to cheese and wine. I've lived outside of France for so long that there's a lot of things that I don't really resonate with. But when we talk about cheese and wine, I'm there.
I would say it's such a good question. I love that. So I'm from the US originally, but I've lived outside of the US now about 10 years and a little bit longer. And I live in the UK. And so what I've been kind of saturating myself with lately, lots of scones and cream and tea. And I think the thing that's absorbed me the most, because I live in Scotland and it's very, very cold, I'm obsessed with woolly jumpers or sweaters. So like beautiful wool sweaters. Marion can attest. I have an outrageous collection of different kinds of woolly jumpers to wear year round, because it's cold enough even in summer for a woolly jumper. In fact, even right now, I have a very thin wool shirt on.
And if you go to visit, you don't need to bring any yourself. There's plenty.
Yeah, sure. If you come visit me, you can borrow anything that you need. And in terms of like ideas and books and music, I've been obsessed lately with just everything in the regenerative space. And I want to give a shout out to some of the thinkers that have influenced us, because these are not all of our ideas. We very much draw from people who are wiser than us, and we synthesize ideas. So Bayo Akamalfe, he's a Nigerian philosopher and thinker, and he would say post-activist. We love him and we love his work. Adrienne Marie Brown is another brilliant thinker. She's in the US, and a queer woman of color, does amazing thinking. Daniel Christian Wall, I mentioned earlier. Who am I missing, Marion? I know there's lots of other people, but we're very much thinking in this space. And then as far as music, we love music. Marion just was at the Beyonce concert in Paris last weekend.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think music is, part of those very healing and medicinal transformative means and vehicles. Amazing. So yeah, it's just, being able to put a song and just shift your mood completely with just like a beat or words and a melody is just something like I can spend hours just listening to music. And when I need, as a woman, a bit of power, I go for Beyonce for sure.
What about you, Erinn?
For me, I find my solace in nature, actually. It's really funny. Marion was asking me the other day for some pictures or images to use for marketing. And all I had to send her was like me going camping or spending time out on the water, the lochs or whatever. And she's like, I get it. You really like camping. But it's true. So when I need to feel energized or grounded, I go for long walks. And Scotland is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country, and it has incredible beaches and mountains and forests and rivers and lochs or lakes. Here with the Scottish would say lochs. And so I spend a lot of time outside, and I really find my solace and vitality and wisdom in that. And it changes. There's so many seasons here, so everything changes very quickly. So if you go on one walk and you come back in 4 weeks, everything will look different because different things will have grown, or the leaves will have turned, or something will have shifted. So I really enjoy that. That's my perhaps more nerdy version to answer your question.
Have you ever been affected by a client story while trying to understand them and tell them how to regenerate their ways affected you?
Oh, good question.
I'll say yes, for sure. Like, I mean, we resonate with what people are sharing. We're deeply empathetic. We're kind of sponges as well. So part of the work has been to be able to hold space and be there, and accepting that we are affected by people around us, and that's totally natural. There's kind of an idea, false idea, that somehow because you're the helper, you should know it all, or you should be unaffected, or you should be strong there. And it took us, burnout kind of taught us, like, well, actually that's just not true, because then we keep the stuff inside and we don't deal with it. And so we've often really moved by our clients' stories and the experiences they share with us, and even the states they're in. So it's learning to accompany them in that moment, and accompany ourselves in that moment, and that makes us human, when we cry with them sometimes, or we go and cry after.
Yeah, I would say that all of our clients, we don't have very many clients at a time. We keep our groups small, and we develop really personal relationships with our clients, and we follow them. So even long after people leave our 4-month program, we keep in touch, and we want to know how things are going and what's going on with their lives. And I think that what's so exciting about our work for me is just watching people's lives unfold in new and different ways after working with us, and then learning from our clients as well. There's so much wisdom that everyone brings. And because we work with clients all over, I mean, like actively at the minute, we have people in North America and Europe and Africa and Asia. And so hearing their wisdom as well, I think enriches us, and we carry that forward to future clients. And we integrate that into our work as well.
That's amazing. And Erinn and Marion, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on Safari Podcast. It's been an amazing conversation. I feel totally relieved, and I don't know, I feel somehow different from how the conversation started and before I started listening to your trainings on social media. Just to tell our listeners, what are your social media handles so that they can follow you?
Thank you, Ori. It's been amazing to chat. Thank you for your time. If you want to find us on social media, we are at Regenerative Changemaking on Instagram, and just Regenerative Changemaking on Facebook. So you can find us both of those places.
And we're also on LinkedIn with the same Regenerative Changemaking. And I think that's it. The TikTok is very sporadic.
You're not creating challenges in the In the park when you're walking.
No. Maybe we should, but no.
I get so overwhelmed by TikTok. It's one of those things where like I just can't. I know Erinn likes it more. I'm just like, I'll just get just. So not yet, but if anyone wants to help us, maybe bring that out. Sure.
It will be amazing because the social media and digital world is the next thing that we are trying to understand. Even if technology and everything was messing Marion's meeting earlier on today, but we managed to cover all the ground and the questions that we had. From me, Oria Atieno, and Wairimu Gitao, we are really happy to share your journey with our Safari podcast listeners. It's been an amazing. I hope you had fun.
Oh, we had a great time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ori. Thank you.
Regenerative Changemaking.